Hello and welcome back to the 2018 MSI Play-In. I'm here with the jungler of Chaos Latin Gaming, Tierwulf. Congratulations on what's been kind of a rocky start to the day, but how does it feel now to be at the end and be 1-2?
I think we always knew we were a good team.
Sorry,
2-1. But our team has this big issue where usually when we play on stage, we play scared. We have a play style that's really aggressive, so obviously it's a lot more risky to do. So sometimes, you know, translating the things from scrims to stage is a bit hard, but we're pretty confident. You know, it's kind of hard with the whole best of one format, but we're confident we'll pass.
And I know that in that last game, you guys played much more aggressive than you kind of have throughout the day. Would you say that that third game, the final game you just came off versus Ascension, was more of what you knew? More of how you were playing? And like more the style that your team kind of normally plays?
Usually we're more crazy. Usually I flash level 1. But for reals, yeah, definitely. We wanted to try a few things since today I feel like a data test. We knew we could beat them in macro because I feel they're really weak. They look for team fights even when they're at a disadvantage or not on power spikes. So we were trying things out, finding a way on how they respond. But yeah, definitely. We want to play more aggressive. When we get the feel for the enemy, we're going to pass over them. And
then I know that we unfortunately did not get a chance to chat to you after your first victory of the day, but it must have felt good kind of in the battle for LATAM, taking down at least the first game versus your kind of regional rivals.
Definitely. It's the first, but it's going to be a 2-0 this time. I don't think they have a chance, and we're going to do our best.
And with that, of course, you guys have actually a very legitimate shot. Gambit obviously looking very good. Winning here today means they sweep the day, but you know, given that you are sitting up 2-1, what do you think your chances are kind of going back against these teams again?
I think in this group, it depends on us. I think if we play our game, we can win every match that's left. I think that if we don't play our game, we could lose to any team. So we just got to focus on going in with the right mindset, playing our play style, being aggressive, focusing on timing summoners and playing around waves, and I think we can beat any team.
All right, well, best of luck, and thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you so much. Take care.
It's back to you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Pastry and Tierwulf, and welcome back to the State Farm Analyst. As there was the much anticipated interview with Tierwulf after the second win for KLG in a row. Fantastic by them. He was balanced, I would say. I would think
that was great, man.
Trash talky.
I don't know about that. He literally said 2-0. They don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. I want to see that rematch again.
Okay, I think you're right. I mean, maybe I'm expecting too much, especially since all I saw on Twitter and in the interviews. But fantastic overall from KLG, and this is very much not what we expected. Them coming out of the day 1-2, so 2-1 rather so far. You didn't see them even taking a game. What has been so good about KLG?
I think a lot of it is, this is something we talked a little bit about at the beginning of the day, that if they were going to surprise people, it was because of their unfiltered aggression.
Yes.
And I think this game was the best representation of what they can do when they really let loose and just let their playstyle run free. You saw them, how vocal they were, Tierwulf specifically, when he's on stage, when he's getting kills. They are a very loud, motivated team. And once they start getting going, they really don't stop snowballing.
And here's the thing, Kai'Sa's a very snowbally pick. I've seen in the LPL and the playoffs specifically, it was essentially came down to play perfect versus the pick with your high tempo pressure, or falter because you lose one team fight and it starts getting kills after kills.
If you're Ascension, why do you let it through two games in a row?
Especially with the game quality with Ascension being incredibly scrappy. You would expect them to either pick it up themselves or ban it entirely, and we saw it constantly.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was on the other side of the rift. Kai'Sa and KLG picked up the win, and now we have our last game of the day, a huge matchup ahead of us. Two of the favorites in Group A, Rainbow7 and Gambit Esports, but surprisingly, only Gambit thus far have come out undefeated as a 2-0, which is a bit of a surprise, and I would say then more the fact that Rainbow7 have not been as crisp and as clean as we expected from them.
Yes, I feel like that their mid-game has kind of been a little bit shaky, which in part is kind of surprising, but also not, because coming into the tournament, we talked about how they are a different Rainbow7 from what we've seen last international tournament, where they don't just win through individual skill anymore. They're much more focused on map play and moving around the map in terms of setting up for Baron and team fighting. Whereas coming into this tournament, it seems very linear. We slow early game, we team fight later, and then we hope to out team fight you. And against Ascension, it worked, but against KLG, it did not.
Yeah.
Well, and let's immediately then say who we're actually talking about, who could be kind of the catalyst if things go better for Rainbow7. It is Whitelotus. He's up versus Lodik in this matchup because Whitelotus came off a couple of months ban, and these are his first games back with the team. So you may think that that is influencing kind of the play of Rainbow7 overall.
Yeah, and the big thing in his interview is that he was just mentioning that not even getting that practice in solo queue to that point. Really 2 weeks of that play versus Lodik, who's just showcasing so much pressure this set.
And it's exactly that. Lodik has been stepping up so much. His damage per minute at 805, the young rookie on this team who he took the place of blasting. During the regular season when Gambit was 11-1, eyes were kind of like, does this really make sense? You watch their finals and Lodik wasn't really the standout, yet this tournament, he's just going above and beyond expectations.
Above and beyond, and as said, a thing or two has to do with the fact that he got his hands on Kai'Sa versus Ascension, and he was, in Raz's words, an absolute demon.
Absolute monster. And the biggest thing about this, it just came down to a game of outplay between Ascension and Gambit. It was really just about that, because when it came down to it, it's a 1v3, and maybe you can look back at this replay and say, maybe if Rocky just smashed him away from his team. But no, any Maokai would essentially go for this play. The issue is that he was confident enough to take that 1v3, and he came out ahead.
Well, yeah, because you could easily say, oh, it's Kai'Sa, she's very strong, so that happens when you get a couple of kills. But even in the moment, Lodik just played it very, very well. He sights up when he did, he got back, he got that heal off, and in the end, they were able to kill off Rocky as well. So it wasn't just that the champion's very strong, it was that Lodik is feeling himself and is in his element on stage, it seems.
I would definitely say it's a combination of the two.
Okay.
And in the sense that, yes, Kai'Sa is very strong. We've seen what she's very capable of. But in this situation, I do feel that Lodik, he was just very smart about how he played her. His positioning was good. And just the confidence. You guys talked about it.
Yeah.
It is that willingness to say, you know what, I can actually go in here, I can make full use of my champion, and I can turn this actually in my favor rather than trying to run away and try to survive.
And a big thing to point out going for the rest of the tournament is the fact that Kai'Sa was able to do just that just because it was a mage support that she was going up against. Very squishy, you can just go straight for it, so you don't have to worry about an Analyst or headbutt pulverizing you if you ever go for those assassinations. And so it feels much more free for Kai'Sa to do just what we saw there.
Well, Lodik could be a possible X factor going into this game. When we look on the other side, Rainbow7, even though it hasn't been working out perfectly for them as of yet, sEiya in the mid lane, we talked about him before, he's an absolute monster, and he at least has still been giving us that level of play that we have come to expect from him. So that is at least going well, and now it's all about the rest of the team just playing around him and enabling him a bit more and making sure that the team can get those wins.
And this is what you love to see coming out of the team of Rainbow7. It's the fact that sEiya is still a major leader, and we've only seen, I would say, just the top of it. Because he can go towards that Syndra that we've seen in the regular season, and maybe he has more underneath it.
And I like just referencing back to those stats that were just on screen. This guy has an insane KDA. His laning is phenomenal. He is contributing 38% of his team's damage, right? This guy is really stepping up and doing his best. Now we just need to find the confidence returning from Whitelotus, and overall just kind of a little bit more unity within the team, playing more towards their win conditions and better enabling each other to find more confident
Well,
wins.
we've learned a lot throughout the day. At the beginning of the day, we thought that Rainbow7 would be the undisputed favorites and Gambit could possibly come close, but it's Gambit that could go 3-0 here. Or will Rainbow7 bring it back and be 2-1? Your quick predictions.
Oh, here's the thing. Back in the LPL, I'm known as a flip-flopper. Now, initially, I had this going in favor of Rainbow7, but if you have a new tool with Lodik, I'm gonna go for a Gambit in this one.
There we go. A
I'm gonna
Gambit,
stick-
was that on purpose? A Gambit?
Oh, no, I love it, but it was an accident.
All right.
I am going to stick with my expectations of Rainbow7. I think they had a mess-up game of KLG where Oddie, his pride got too much in the way of the performance, and this time around they will reset themselves, and I think they'll take the win.
Well, fantastic. Last game here up on the board today when it comes to our final match. Jirall of Rainbow7 sees his matchup against Gambit as another chapter in a budding rivalry.
So Gambit, we have a long story versus them, LAN versus CIS. They beat us 2016, we beat them last year, so I think it's like round 3 sort of thing this time around, and it always feels good to beat them. And yeah, they're definitely not a team we can like underestimate, so we're gonna prepare well against them and hopefully beat them.
Long-term rivalry between Rainbow7 and Gambit Esports. You have to remember they met at Worlds Play-ins last year, and Rainbow7 won 14-2 and 18-3. It was pretty darn devastating for Rainbow7.
Yeah, and we have 9 of those 10 members that were in those matches here on stage today. The only one that's different is Lodik for Gambit. So far, he's been doing work. That guy popped off.
He's the guy who's stepping up for the team as well. The Kai'Sa, we say you have to ban it. Obviously, you have to ban it now.
Yeah, and he's up against Whitelotus, though, so we have this rookie up against this guy who has a long history behind him. He actually got a pentakill when he was up against Gambit last time on that Callista. That's the one from Worlds in those play-ins. And so, like he said, it's a rivalry that's been going back and forth. 1-1 right now in terms of, I guess the years that they've gotten on top of each other. It's just the best of 3, round 3 fight.
If he cracks out the Kalista once again, I think I would lose my mind. Rainbow7 on the blue side, Gambit on the red. We're gonna get through the first ban phase, and Nivea.
Yeah.
No real surprises there.
Yeah, I got abandoned against Kira. Kira versus sEiya. This is such a great matchup here between these two, regarded as pretty much the kings of their region in the mid lane. Kira, back-to-back MVPs for himself. sEiya, 10 titles to his name.
Not just the kings of their region, but I think you can say that Kira is probably the best player ever to come out of the LCL, out of the Russian league, and sEiya is probably the best player to ever come out of the CLS. These are probably the best 2 players that have ever been created in their regions as well. So a massive rivalry in that mid lane. Ezreal ban, Azir ban, Swain ban, Rakan ban. Nothing too surprising as of yet. Maybe the Ezreal a little bit odd from Gambit.
I like the Rakan ban here if you're not going to first pick it, but now it looks like Caitlyn jumps up in priority very highly. Ezreal, Kai'Sa off the table. There's no Rakan to first pick here, and then there's no Xayah to pair with it, so you don't have to worry about that too much.
Have to see maybe the Caitlyn pick here for the LLM team. Rainbow7 did call them the CLS team. I'm just too used to casting Chaos Latin Gamers now. 2 games in a row got me slightly confused, but the North Latin America team, Rainbow7. It's going to be the Caitlyn lock-in straight away for them. Karma picked up by Gambit alongside the Jhin for Lodik here.
Yeah, the Karma, a flex pick, can be played in the mid lane, very commonly played in the mid lane on the patches, most recent 8.7, 8.8, but can be flexed the bottom side for Edward. But he's been favoring those playmakers. He's really been feeling it so far. But the Jhin is the one that I have questions about because you can't build Rage Blade. It's actually just banned straight up. You cannot build it here at this tournament because it's just got too many interactions where it just stacks the AD too high. And so Jhin, you're going to have to go for more of a crit build, potentially lethality, but it doesn't provide as much as, say, like a Varus would. So we'll see what he's able to do with the lockdown, and the utility is kind of what makes him shine.
Especially against the strength of something like a Caitlyn Morgana lane, that Jhin, if you get caught out, trap's going to come underneath you, you're not really going to be able to escape at all. It's very dangerous for him.
Yeah, Caitlyn Morgana, it kind of emerged as the counter to Xayah Rakan, and then people just realized, oh, this is just a really oppressive lane in general, and you can play it into almost anything. So it's kind of that combo that's risen up as that S tier, especially when they're together.
Well, we did have the Trundle locked in for Oddie in the jungle, and Kira got the Ornn for Stejos in the top lane, you would assume. They're banning out top laners as well. Camille removed by Gambit Esports, and the Vlad taken away by Rainbow7.
Yeah, kind of hiding those mid lane bans, mid lane picks until later for both teams, making sure that sEiya or Kira have the upper hand in their matchups.
Kira up until now has played the Azir and has played the Cassiopeia. Azir probably the better of his 2 performances.
Yeah, he's 7-0 on Azir so far this year, and so they banned it away from him. And both teams threw a ban at the mid lane there with their kind of their most played, their signature champion so far in this year.
Now we'll get to the final ban from Rainbow7. Could continue to focus on that mid lane. Could also try and remove a jungler perhaps from the pool of Diamondprox. Is going to be the rise. So lots of mid lane bans coming out here. Probably falling down to that 2nd tier. And it's Nocturne picked up by Gambit.
And you can see Lodik. Yeah, he's the one who locked it in for him. That was so fast. Nocturne has pretty much got chain buffed. I was asking people backstage before the game started that I thought we'd see Nocturne today. We've gotten like increased damage on his R, increased damage on his Q. The fact that the ultimate now lasts longer so you can mask teleports or have people not be able to TP in during that time. And we're seeing it here because like he got compensated for Duskblade being nerfed, but you never built Duskblade in competitive anyway. So I really want to see what Diamondprox is able to do.
Living with Vedius as well, he is a big Nocturne
He's
fan.
Nocturne mid,
He
though.
likes to play Nocturne mid. It's not going to happen in this game. If it does, I'm going to be...
If it does, Vedius can come up here and kick me off.
That would, he can kick me off.
He can
In all honesty, if Nocturne mid's being played, he can cast the entire game by himself. It's a Karthus! That's a Karthus lock here for Kira in the mid lane as well. Sion and Orianna were picked by Rainbow7, but very fast 2nd pick phase by Gambit Esports.
Yeah, they're just rolling with the punches. They're just saying, all right, this is what we want. This is what we want. Boom. Nocturne locked in for them. Karthus locked in for them. Karthus also got some buffs to his Q, his late waste. Makes it so that he's able to just deal more damage throughout all parts of the game. I really want to see what he runs in terms of his Keystone. Because I've seen Predator Karthus, where you Predator and then ulti, and it does a lot of extra damage. So
I can see that working. I can see how that would work. That'd be incredible. Yes, I want you to talk to me about this team composition coming out from Gambit, because having something like a Karthus and a Nocturne come in, things that we don't see regularly, really changes up the game plan for them. What are they actually aiming to do here, Sion?
So it's a lot of semi-globals. You have the TP from the top lane, you have the Nocturne ultimate, and then you also have the Karthus that can contribute from being anywhere on the map with his global. So bottom lane focus onto Whitelotus and to Genthix might be the name of the game here, trying to make sure that you have this Jhin that can lock people down, but dives will be big. If you can get them low enough for the Karthus to finish them off, there's not really much they can do about it. And so you're looking to focus a lane in particular. I don't know which one, but that's also something that Rainbow7 have to keep in mind. They don't know exactly what's going to get focused here, because if they find an opening on the side of Gambit, they can really go anywhere once they get those flashes.
I have to see Rainbow7 a much more traditional team composition. You've got your front line, you've got your back line, you've got your damage dealers. We are going to get onto the Summoner's Rift for the final game of day one here at MSI.
And what I love here is, like you said, standard composition, but it kind of protect the flower, protect Whitelotus, preserve him, make sure that he doesn't get touched here. You have the black shield from the Morgana. You have the Orianna ball from sEiya. This is pretty much what you're looking for. I usually see Caitlyn with like one of these guys. Both of them just means that he has that extra protection where you black shield him, you give him the Ori shield, he walks up to turrets when there's no minion wave and just starts shooting it so he can get some extra damage on it. Becomes very Whitelotus based here from Rainbow7. So Gambit, I assume that they're going to try to shut that down, because that's the big win condition here from Rainbow7.
Rainbow7 were trying to sneak something in towards that bottom lane as well, with Jirall coming across, but he is just going to go back and work his way up towards the top lane. sEiya should have time to back and get back into the lane as well here, so no real concerns for him apart from the gold that Edward earned off the empowered Q.
Yeah, and ooh, okay. So something I want to talk about here is some of the rune choices that we have. So Diamondprox went for attack speed based precision instead of electrocute. So he's looking for press the attack for later on in fights. One of the great things about press the attack is if you are able to get tanky on like a Trundle or a Nocturne, you're actually contributing something to the team fight beyond, just some damage. You're able to actually increase everybody else's damage to that tank target and help everybody else shred them. But another thing I really like here is Kira has precision secondary. Helps you auto-attack a little bit, but the big thing is we changed presence of mind. It's no longer the free mana every time you level up or get a takedown. It's now if you kill somebody, you get 10% off your ulti cooldown, which is exactly what you want as Karthus. You kill somebody, you get to ulti more often.
Yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense. Like Kira did try and steal away a Razorbeak there. They recess on him, so he wasn't able to get it. That's why my hands went to my head, Irene. It wasn't that your point was so shocking to me.
I like to think that was the reason.
Yeah.
You could have just let me live in my ignorance.
In the future, that will be what I do. But you see the first binding into the trap, into the damage. Edward has the flash and the heal used by Lodik. We talked about that. We talked about the CC chain. That's exactly what Whitelotus and Genthix want to do in this bottom lane.
Yeah, it's just an impressive lane. The Morgana Caitlyn is so impressive. And now we're going to have the Nocturne on the bottom side of the map. But look at that, Oddie already going into the jungle. He is kind of the living ward right now.
Diamondprox was able to get it the pillar on the wrong side as well. So Oddie unable to get anything out of that invade. Can try and secure the Scuttle Cup for himself. He knows that Diamondprox is low on mana.
Yeah, he does get protection though for his bottom lane. So it's kind of, he walks up, he'll ward it, make sure that Nocturne is on this side and track him so that you can be up this far in this lane. Oddie's going to harass Diamondprox here.
Can't quite get to the Blastkin. Diamondprox tries to turn it around with the fear. Oddie flees away in terror. Kira the first one to react as well. And Oddie has the flash, but the exhaust comes out. Diamondprox with the flash of its own. Burst blood to Kira and the double buffs as well.
Exactly, the double buffs go over to him. So now he's going to have that blue, and he can just keep spamming over and over again. Throw the Skittles out.
Taste the rainbow, Rainbow7. That's what he's saying. It's like, sEiya, it's in the name. Taste the rainbow. Take all of those Skittles to your face. It's so helpful for the Karthus in the mid lane.
Yeah, and sEiya pretty much has no mana now, so he's actually going to get a really bad back timer where Kira might be able to back here. I wonder what he'll go for. Potentially the tier. He doesn't want the lane frozen on him, so nice damage.
Just pushing sEiya back a little bit more. Does have the minion dematerializer, so we'll try and clear out that wave, but Do we see Kira back early here? Because he went exhausted, didn't go teleport on the Karthus, so can't get back into the lane easily.
Yeah, no, Kira's gonna stay because sEiya doesn't have mana to actually clear this next wave. So he's gonna get this cannon minion. Oddie's actually here to kind of stop this.
No flash. There's the pillar as well. sEiya uses the heal very early on, but Kira tries to turn it back around. The flash comes out from sEiya. Oddie gets the kill. And should be able to dodge the Skittles! Delicious, delicious death in the mid lane.
Oh, so the buffs went back over to Oddie, and then Kira just said, nobody gets these buffs. Buffs or no?
No buffs for you. That Karthus pick has just really upset the apple cart here for Rainbow7. Some inventiveness from Gambit Esports, something that's put them to that 2-0 position in this group.
Yeah, the inventiveness, the fact that they're able to kind of pull out these picks and say, hey, we're coming into a tournament where a lot has been hidden for 2 patches. You've been practicing these things behind closed doors. You can get that X factor going for you. And Kira able to kill Oddie here, who wanted to just sidestep it, but he actually stays inside of the range for a little longer because of the sidestep. He's trying to get cute there. You can see, this has been their performance today. Kira's turning this around. This looks like sEiya has just been crushing, but Gambit are the ones that are 2-0, and Kira, low percent of his team's damage because Lodik popped off, and Stejos played a GP game. But right now, he's got the 2-1 on this Karthus. And that throws off a lot of your internal kind of timers for, oh, he's going to hit level 6 at this point. He's going to do X amount of damage. So if he starts getting items a little bit faster because these kills, it really does kind of make it so he hits those break points with his ulti where he can just actually just obliterate a team.
It's the influence on the rest of the map as well, isn't it? He's already got to level 6. If Diamondprox can get to level 6 soon as well, get Lodik up towards that as well, you've got the combination of the curtain call into the paranoia, into the ult.
Yeah, and I said they could pretty much go anywhere. sEiya doesn't have flash right now. He's kind of the prime target to go for, is to crack open mid lane to then crack open bottom lane. So once Diamondprox hits 6, which will be 1 or 2 more camps here, he'll be able to actually use that paranoia and go straight for one of the people who doesn't have flash.
So although they've had a strong early push in this bottom lane, Whitelotus and Genthix aren't actually that far ahead of Lodik and Edward. You look at it, it's a CS difference of about 6-7 CS. The wave's coming in, so it'll probably end up being about that 10 mark. But the question is when they can really take this bot lane tower, because it's getting to the point where if they go too aggressive for the tower, you're going to be met by a paranoia, by a teleport, by the Requiem coming out from Karthus as well. So you need to speed up that bot lane a little bit if you really want to take advantage as Rainbow7.
Yeah, it changes a lot of your ward patterns too, because normally in that situation, you would say, okay, let's protect bottom, let's go ward up the enemy blue buff, some of those exits, but the Nocturne can actually just lane gank. So, like you said, it's very difficult once it gets to that point, and you have to start tracking the Nocturne by fighting him. Right now, he's keying off of the mid lane where he has an advantage.
Good pillar there from Oddie to stop them in their tracks. He's been consistently aggressive. We saw it in the game against Chaos Latin Gamers. Sometimes it does come back to bite him, so he needs to be a little bit careful as to how far he pushes forward.
Yeah, there's such a thing as too aggressive, and we definitely saw it from Oddie earlier today. But he's 1-2. He really has to kind of get that in check, because he's somebody that we've looked to on Rainbow7 as one of the people who really gets the team going, who gets Whitelotus and sEiya going. And it just hasn't been his day so far.
So sEiya has gone back, picked himself up the tier, should be helpful with those mana issues he was having in the mid lane, starting to scale up just a little bit. You've got Whitelotus only on a BF sword at the moment, but no actual AD coming out from Lodik at all. He's got the Boots of Swiftness, the dagger, and the Brawler's Glove as well for a bit of crit, but not actually got that much damage under his belt.
Yeah, a lot of Jhins just start boots and then 3 potions, and then they go ahead and they get themselves, 4 potions, and then they go ahead and they run really quickly, then they get themselves Swifty's first items so that they can hit you with the 3 shots, and then the 4th shot is like basically you're getting extra AD with the automatic crit. Hold on, though.
Shockwave into knock-up here from Jirall, and Kira, that's what you have to do to shut down a mid laner who's ahead. Great roam down from Jirall, the leader of the team, coming up big for Rainbow7.
Yeah, Jirall actually came down after he got the shove. He kind of was just spotted out in vision, and Kira just didn't respect it. His flash was down for about 5 seconds when that started, so it looked like it was up, but it wasn't just quite.
Here's the lane camp you were talking about, though, Irene. Whitelotus and Genthix are going to play safe. Level 6 on Whitelotus. No 6 yet on Genthix, but he does have the flash and the exhaust up.
Oh.
Edward steps forward.
Oh, the Black Shield used!
Time around, the Black Shield's already been used, as you say. Here comes the curtain call. Requiem as well. Paranoia not in range.
Whee!
Out of sight, here he goes, right onto the back line. Genthix goes down. Diamondprox gets away. And Gambit execute their bot lane dive.
Yep, they end up getting that kill. It's not onto Whitelotus, but they get Genthix, who wasn't able to flash there, and still just ended up getting blown up by that 4th shot there from Lodik. That is such a scary combo, where it's just a lot of effective range. The Nocturne ultimate comes out, and then you have the curtain call, which is, you're blind, right? Normally you can see it coming and dodge it, but at that point, you're just dancing, hoping, you know, you don't get hit.
Dancing in the dark. Genthix was unable to dodge it, and it gives Gambit that extra kill. Only a 400 gold lead for them, though. Across the board, it's still pretty even in terms of laning stats and kills. The Ocean Drake going over to Gambit would be very strong for them, especially for the Karthus in the mid lane, for the extra mana regeneration that can help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. You really want that, especially since he's not going for tier or anything like that. He has the Lost Chapter instead. We'll see this one more time. It looks like Diamondprox actually has to get in range too, because like the level 6 Nocturne, it takes a while. You have to, he's like, I gotta get in range, gotta get in range, gotta get in range. Needs vision, and then he gets vision off of the ultimate there. So if they had just backed up and none of those shots from Lodik had landed, I don't think he'd be able to ultimate because he couldn't see them.
It's true. Part of it as well as you talked about in Pick and Ban, the ability to deny teleports in as well, stopping Jirall from being able to join the back of that fight and maybe somehow turning it around by holding on to the paranoia before you activate the second part of it.
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna be a little critical here. I thought that was actually Genthix's fault because he had Black Shielded before anything really needed to be Black Shielded. So when you do that, that is basically the tool that the enemies are waiting for to be on cooldown. That's when they pounce. So whichever person he had used Black Shield on, the other one just becomes the target. You have to do it reactively. You cannot do it preemptively against teams when they're looking for a gank.
And maybe part of that is a bit of apprehension from the Rainbow7 bottom lane. You know, losing to KLG would definitely have set them back mentally. You always have to wonder whether when you get to the 3rd game of the day and it hasn't quite gone your way, you're able to react in the same way you would if you were on a high momentum swing. But they're still pretty even in this game. We can't count them out at all. Gambit are the ones making the plays, but still, CS even in the mid lane, even in the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, I was just looking at the CS, and I can't remember the last time that I saw top lane tanks having the same CS as their mid laners at this point in the game, or even just more. Like everybody's at that 100. Everybody's getting the cash this game.
And Jirall has been like roaming around the map as well. Made that gang mid, now he's going down towards the bottom lane as well. Flash away from Edward, but the chase is on. The ace comes down. Edward not in a good spot at all. Eventually will fall to Whitelotus. And R7 put their 3rd kill on the map.
Yeah, that's 4 people down in the bottom lane. They're going to try to force this turret down. You talked about it where it becomes harder to get this turret once the Nocturne has the ultimate. And this turret was already half HP.
Oh, they're going to come out. They're just diving straight on towards that backline. Requiem not enough though, and Diamondprox falls. Teleport coming in from the Ornn, cancelled straight away, but they keep the turret alive for the moment.
Yeah, just for the moment though. They're going to start backing right up to this turret. They had to wait for another minion wave, and it'll be about 15 seconds. So that's actually going to save it because they don't want to stick around for that long.
Makes sense, but you can see that Diamondprox can dive onto the backline, but when we get to coordinated team fights, that does not work as well. He's going to be collapsed upon. He's going to be dived on by the rest of R7.
Yeah, that's he can do it, but should he do it?
This is why Vedius is not a good Nocturne mid player, because he does it all the time. And he's like, why am I plat 4 and you're high diamond? I'm like, because you're bad at the game. Anyway, let's focus on the game itself.
Well, no, I'd like to hear more about this. Like,
I think we should look at Rainbow7 versus Gambit. I shouldn't blame him unless I'm casting with him, really.
No, he can't defend himself. That's the best time.
That's true. That's true. Rainbow7, 1,000 gold ahead here. 13 minutes into the game, but it's still very even between the two of them. Rapid fire cannon now finished on Lodik. Still no first item on Whitelotus.
Yeah, and I wonder if he's going to go for the full completed Infinity Edge first. Some Caitlyn's do that because of the multiplier from your headshot is based off of having increased crit damage. So you do even more with it, but we'll see. A lot of people go for the Zeal, the static Shiv first, but with the rapid fire cannon completed from Lodik, this gives him a lot of mobility and a lot of range.
Thought he was going to face check into Oddie there, but able just to lay down the trap and get himself away.
Yeah, I love the Swifty boots from him and then going immediately for the rapid fire cannon. He doesn't have like extra AD, but he has a lot of ways to get his 4th shot off, and he also has a lot of ways to just dodge Morgana binding, which is the thing that's going to kill you.
that ability just to relocate and position in the fights is something that...
it's invaluable, honestly.
Yeah, and it's something Lodik was praised for. It's one of the reasons he actually became part of the team, why he replaced Blasting, was because he was a little bit safer, he was better at positioning team fights, and he wasn't this 100% or 0%
Yeah, less variance to him. Very consistent in what he's going to bring to a team.
Looks like Diamond's trying to set up down towards this bottom lane once again, but unable to do it.
I love this from Kira. He has the 2 penetration items that he needs, the Oblivion Orb and the Spell Pin Boots. AP not as effective on Karthus, so once you have a lot of penetration, that's really when your ultimate is going to hit the hardest.
Makes a lot of sense. Expect to see him build up towards some of that AP as the game progresses, even though Rabadon's Death Cap would help him out.
Yeah, for example, right now, he has 33 magic penetration. Whitelotus has 33 MR. Genthix has 32 MR.
True damage.
32 MR for sEiya when his ball isn't on him. So he's basically doing true damage to 3 people on the team.
And if they can coordinate that with the Paranoia, with even the call of the Forge God coming out from Staios, it just gives you this chain of damage, chain of CC. Shockwave used, Exhaust comes out as well. Kira didn't have the vision around to know where Oddie was, so had to use the Summoner.
Man, I love this from Jirall. He used the banner command mid, so now that's pushing in Kira, and Kira has to kind of try to CS this under the turret. Diamondprox, though, down bottom, looking for another play.
Has now been spotted out. There's the Requiem. The damage onto Lotus is devastating. However, they do get Edward in response. 4th shot's going to come out here. Genthix dodges to the side, but Diamondprox had the smite down and is able to capitalize.
Yeah, they use the Black Shield again. It gets taken off immediately by Edward using a Mantra Q, and then they just dive. And right now, it's just jamming this combination down the throats of Rainbow7. The Jhin plus the Nocturne constantly just going for these dives, and it's working out so far.
It is, but it's not actually putting Rainbow7 too far behind. We'll have a look at exactly the state of the game after this.
Yeah, but the big thing is Whitelotus is the team composition right now. He has the Morgana and the Orianna almost solely to protect him. Then they have the front line of the Sion, and the Trundle's supposed to just whittle down the front line of Gambit. So this is a very Whitelotus-focused composition where they should be winning the bottom lane. They didn't crack the bottom tier 1 turret. They can't get out of this matchup just yet, and now they have to keep kind of suffering through it.
Oddie flashed away here. Call of Fortune is going to come out as well, knock him up. There's another kill for Gambit. Oddie just way too overextended in the Gambit jungle. You talked about the Protect the Flower composition. Well, Whitelotus now has the first Thorn on that flower, Infinity Edge completed, but he is behind Lodik, as you said, in terms of pure itemization.
Yeah, but he's going to get this turret. Oh, they're making him pick turret
or Staios. And Staios wins out for the moment. Paranoia comes out as well. Long range. Captive Audience will catch him out. Whitelotus there as well. The flash. Genthix down to the Requiem. Goodbye! Staios actually steals the kill in the end. Diamond.
Oh!
Keeps him alive. Perfect dive from Gambit.
And I thought that was going to be, hey, let's give it over to Kira. Because they didn't finish him off, they take more turret shots, they get bound, and then he ends up dying. But no, the heal comes through. They get first turret. Gambit off to a fantastic start.
And that's what they've been building towards and building towards. Getting their first tower, a 2,000 gold lead as well. Yes, Jirall is trying to answer it in the top lane, but they get their second Ocean as well off the back of this. Gambit, so many objectives, a domino effect just from continuously ganking Whitelotus and Genthix.
And we had talked about it at the start. When you asked me about the compositions, what is Gambit going to try to do? They could go anywhere, but the bottom lane is the big juicy point that they really want to shut down. They still haven't lost their bottom tier 1 turret because of all the pressure they've been putting on this S tier matchup of the Caitlyn Morgana, which should be winning, which should be getting that turret first, and they're just reversing it. And that's so well played from Gambit. And I gotta say, Diamondprox, he came in here and he was not looking good. Statistics-wise, he was one of the worst junglers in their region. He had very low jungle proximity. The team was winning kind of without him, and now he's being a huge contributor to them right now. He's got a large amount of that kill participation. He had the lowest KP out of all the junglers in the LCL. And now he's coming in and he's showing us, hey, this isn't going to be like Worlds 2017 in those play-ins where Gambit went 0-4.
7 out of 8 kills he has been involved in. The ability just to be spotted on the map, to be catching people out as well is so good from Diamondprox at the moment.
And this has to be redemption for him because he was the person that came into Worlds 2017. It was like, oh, it's the legacy of Diamondprox and Edward. And then it was kind of the reality of, hey, Diamondprox is no longer that superstar jungler from before, a hard pill to swallow for his fans. But here is something that they can be proud of. Diamondprox is in full effect here in this game.
And I think it's redemption for the entirety of Gambit as well. Like, you look across this team, you've got Stejos and Kira, who were on Albert's Nox in 2015. You've got Diamondprox and Edward, who are on Gambit and Moscow 5 and have this long-term legacy as a team. And last year at Worlds, they just didn't step up to the plate. Here, they're looking to go 3-0 in their group. They're looking to make it into the knockout stage and then hopefully to groups as well.
And they've only made one change. They've only made one change. Lodik coming in as a rookie who's still attending university simultaneously to play here. This is his first competitive split, his first competitive season, and honestly, one of the first of kind of handfuls of his competitive games. And being on the stage, international stage that early, is very daunting, but he is playing incredibly well up against somebody like Whitelotus and Rainbow7.
And matching up into one of the AD carries that is renowned the world over for being an incredible carry.
Man, I just looked at the builds, and I have to put an addendum to something. I said, you didn't even go Duskblade on Nocturne anyway.
You do if you're 2-1-5.
Apparently you do. So I guess Diamondprox is just looking for the full-on, just kill Whitelotus. Black Shield doesn't do anything against this physical damage. Just tries to burst him, so it'll continue a snowball if they keep the pressure up. If you wait and allow them to like build up resistances and get some items, then it's going to be less effective. But for now, if your goal is to just kill Whitelotus, you have to keep doing that. Ultimate on cooldown, cycle it, use those globals. Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, I just looked at it, I was like, the penetration items are through for Kira. He also has a Luden's Echo.
Yep.
So it's just all about, hey, you dive in, everybody just presses their R at the same time and tries to blow up one or two people.
Luden's and the Morello finish now as well, so he's in a very good spot on that Karthus in the mid lane. I think Whitelotus, we talk about how you have to protect the flower. I think if he gets dived on, he's going to last about as long as a plant in university accommodation. They tend to die pretty quickly. You get to water them. I had one that I watered for a year. Turned out it was plastic. What? I actually watered a plant in my accommodation for a year, thinking it was real. I was like, I'm keeping it alive.
I was walking through IKEA the other day because I had recently moved, and my friends were like, oh, these plants look so real. And I was like, it's because they are real. It's like, they expected plastic at that point. So
I guess that makes
it's completely opposite.
Just reversed. Almost reversed. I don't feel as foolish now. I'm sure Rainbow7 feel pretty foolish as they have fallen to Gambit thus far, but still only 1,500 gold behind, remember. If they can get to the late game, if they can get to a point where Whitelotus is sitting on 2-3 items, they are still in a very strong spot.
Yeah, and if they can kind of protect Whitelotus in the later parts of the game and just stop giving things up right now, then they're going to be in a great spot, like you said.
But they have lost that bot lane tower. You can see Kira's moved up towards the top lane now to try and continue to push that in against sEiya, who is answering him.
And I think that's better for Gambit, because Kira can still be effective on the map with his ultimate, whereas sEiya is pretty much just on wave clear duty. This is just hope the rest of the map goes your way, or you can just try to get a sneaky kind of rotation in there.
And once again, Diamondprox is waiting around the mid lane. He is waiting in the wings for the opportune moment to strike. They have a pink ward in that bush, which means he's not spotted out. Oddie is waiting there as well. He's aware that Diamondprox wants to be near this mid lane. And it feels like you're just waiting for the next time they pull the trigger. The next time they're willing to all press R at the same time.
But then for Whitelotus and for Rainbow7, it's trying to deny that opportunity, or a good-looking opportunity. But they just use the Rift Herald, so a push is coming here, where Rainbow7 will walk past that mid lane point. There it is.
Slightly Diamondprox. There's the Requiem as well. They're all in darkness, and Diamondprox doesn't even go in. Ooh. Just accepts that the darkness comes out. Tower falls to the Rift Herald as well.
Yeah, I was like, if he went on Whitelotus there, I'm pretty sure he kills it. Rank 2 ultimate, Duskblade, but doesn't want to risk it at all, because you can flash away from it.
You can, and you've got the heal, and you've got the exhaust on Genthix as well, something that does shut down those assassins if they get exhausted on their way. Kira was making his way down, but with the mid lane tower down now, Gambit willing just to reset and wait for that next rotation of ultimates. They're not on the longest timers, but it's long enough that R7, if they can get away from them without losing a player, they're very happy.
Yep, bottom turret's going to go down, so that's actually Rainbow7, 3 turrets to 1 off of the rotations that they've been making. So they have all those outer turrets down. They have more map pressure now. But it's just that's the thing, when you have a lot of map pressure, but you're not really ahead, it kind of sucks, because it means that in order to get more of an advantage, you have to push up to a point where you don't have safety behind you. And so the Nocturne will just ulti, go after the Caitlyn, and right there you saw he didn't go because the tier 1 turret's there. If they're pushing up to the tier 2 of the enemies, he has a long way to go before safety is right there. So you expose yourself, you have to expose yourself more to get more of an advantage when you're at this point as Rainbow7.
I think the only good thing for Rainbow7 in that is you kind of know when the enemy has the opportunity to counter, like, to make the play, because it's like they haven't got ults. They haven't got ults, so it's fine. Just wait for them to burn them, and then you walk forward and you get that deep vision. But as you say, it is very tough.
Or you can do kind of what Gambit did, where they were like, hey, this bottom turret, it's so defenseless. It's got like 300 HP. Why don't you come get it, Whitelotus? TP comes through, everything comes through. You got to make it look juicy. You got to bait them into these fights that are actually bad for them. Use objectives as bait. So you expect Rainbow7 to, if they want to get back in this game, to start using things like Baron and the trap lines to do that, but also make it so that there's situations where Whitelotus can get away with summoners and you bait like Diamondprox to overcommit.
That's true. We haven't seen Gambit really fall for those traps yet at MSI. We are only 3 games in for them as well, so you have to give them some time to make mistakes, I'm sure. Especially against Rainbow7, who are seen as perhaps the second strongest team in the group, although maybe Chaos Latin Gamers is now challenging to take away that spot.
Well, they came in as, you know, the obvious first for a lot of people. The Gambit are here surprising because they went 0-4 with the same lineup minus 1 person, and Rainbow7 had gone 2-2 back as Lion Gaming, almost took down WE, and they played pretty good set against Cloud9. It's like, you would expect that team to flourish, but look at this.
The trap we're talking about has to pop the paranoia. It doesn't really have a way out of here, but Lodik is on his way down as well. There's the flash. It was just a control. That was the trap for Diamondprox.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that you can control these areas and then have him be in those situations. But now he has no flash. So when he commits to his ultimate, he's committed. He can't get out at that point. And that just means that Diamondprox may actually play defensively for the next 5 minutes before his flash is back up. But as Gambit, you don't want to see that because you've had your foot on the gas pedal, and Rainbow7 have gotten turrets under your nose, and now Whitelotus is hitting some item spikes where he's not as far behind as he was before, and you can't keep shutting him down because now they just keep grouping. So it's actually really good for Rainbow7 to make sure that the pace of the game slows down so they can keep scaling.
You've already got 2 items finished on towards Whitelotus. He's got a Vampiric Scepter as well, so maybe a BF sword, a Bloodthirster next.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. That extra shield against the Nocturne would definitely help him out as well.
Yeah, it's really good also against the Karthus, but
helps against Sejos as well, who is not as tanky as he would like to be. Whitelotus going in for this, but the Blast Cone gets him out. Red buff from Whitelotus will slow down Sejos. There's the ace in the hole as well. It's not going to be enough to eat through the hide of a Forged God.
Yep, still gets the flash though. Another important summoner spell, which means that Gambit will once again continue to play more defensive because they don't have those spells to commit.
And it's kind of offsetting the timers for Gambit as well. If they have all of these things up at the same time, they know they can say go, but if the Paranoia's down when the Requiem's up, or the Flash is down when all the ults are up, then you can delay them from making that optimal engage.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you pointed that out because a lot of the times it's kind of, it happens with back timers where it's like, I need to back because I have 300 gold to this item. It's like, all right, you catch the wave, you back, and then as soon as you get back out on the field, somebody's like, I'm 100 gold for this item. It's like you never get to fight. That's kind of what's happening with the summoner spells and the abilities here.
Paranoia coming out though, there's the Requiem, and it's all combining for them. Look at that backline get shredded. Genthix goes low, sEiya goes golden as well, but Kira's here for the fight. Teleport coming in. Look at the wall of pain. The curtain call comes out as well. Great shockwave from sEiya, but sEiya is the first to fall now in the midst of it all. Jirall not in good shape at all. Gonna get taken very low. It manages to escape for the moment, but Lodik is having none of that. Flash forward, get the kill, and Gambit get 2.
Gambit popping off right now, and that might be the Baron if they really want to commit to it. They have the tanks, they have the damage. It's just Oddie is up right now, but he has no flash to actually flash into the pit. Kira contribute damage over the wall with Qs.
And no real wards here for R7 either, so it would have to just be a pure face check from Oddie.
And I don't think he can make it in there. You see that Edward is saying, nope, nothing to do with that. He finds Oddie in the jungle.
Even ignites him.
He's dead.
Long range deadly flourish, great binding will slow him up, but Edward is just like, okay, AD carry can't get it, I'll take the kill instead, and they're going to push in towards this bottom lane now.
But that means Gambit, they're on the cusp of going 3-0. The team that went 0-4 back in the World's group stage up against Rainbow7 was in their group.
And Rainbow7 are on the cusp of going 1-2 after being the favorites in the group, falling behind their South Latin American counterparts in KLG, not where they would want to be. We have to remember there is another day of action for this group. Day 3, Saturday, they will play another round robin. So all of these teams have an opportunity to rise or fall still in the ranks. It's not decided today, but starting off 3-0 when you can only qualify after being top of your group would be absolutely sublime for Gambit Esports. They have a 6,000 gold lead, they've got Triple Dragon, they've got Baron. They are in a perfect spot to start closing out this game.
Yeah, and they have such a level advantage as well. Lodik is a level and a half up over Whitelotus, but the big thing here is Whitelotus sitting around with 36 magic resistance. There's 33 magic pen for Kira, but his ultimate does 950 damage right now, and Whitelotus has 1,500 HP.
You can see it in this fight. Like Whitelotus and sEiya just get nuked.
Yeah, he does about half his HP, plus if you're going to factor in Luden's Echo on top of it, Kira just obliterates these fights by just pressing R. And you can see Whitelotus has to play so far back for the whole part of the fight afterwards, and then Jirall comes in, and then he just gets taken out. Look at that damage.
Monstrous from Kira and from Lodik, who have to remember he's still at university. He's just coming into this team as the rookie and is really stepping up, willing to make the aggressive plays when needed, willing to be defensive when needed as well. Had good performances on both the Jhin and the Kai'Sa. Now they are looking just to close out this game. Minute and a half left on the Baron. They've got Diamondprox just roaming around this bottom side jungle, can join either fight if needed.
Yeah, you can see he's just kind of camping there, just waiting. Yeah, he even backs up. There's a ward in there. He does have sweeper, but it's just, is he gonna sweep it? No.
No, not yet. But now we actually see Oddie come down towards this bottom lane. Maybe we'll see a bit more aggression from Gambit in the mid. Call of the Forge God comes out. There's Paranoia as well, just diving on towards Genthix and Whitelotus. A double with the Requiem, and Gambit are absolutely shredding through Rainbow7. They have found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and it is looking mighty pretty for them.
And they're going to keep pushing up here. Kira's going to get that bottom side of the map. And man, that presence of mind. He got 3 procs of presence of mind there. The ultimate cooldown for that should have been 95 seconds. It went down to 40. He almost has his Karthus ultimate back up. 25 seconds on that.
That is absolutely disgusting. They're pushing in the mid lane for the inhibitor and bot at the same time. Inhib falls mid, Inhib will fall bot as well, and Gambit can just reset off this if they want. They don't need to close the game out yet, but if they catch sEiya, they can. Unable to get the final connection.
And as Whitelotus and Jirall respawn, Kira now has his ultimate pack up because of the presence of mind. And he was bottom lane that whole time. Got 2 kills, 1 assist, counts as a takedown. Now they're gonna pick up this Ocean Drake, reset, get back out on the map, and they'll just go towards that top side of the map. And I think they'll just do it again. Just throw out the Karthus ultimate, chunk out Whitelotus, who can't even sustain that much damage. It's also gonna chunk out Genthix. And we'll see right here what happens. I gotta watch these health bars. Knockup happens onto Whitelotus. Gets shot once. Popped from half HP.
That is not pretty. I'm not sure we should be putting that on before 9 o'clock at night. It's, yeah, that is pretty disgusting for me.
Yeah.
3,000 damage in the last team fight, equaled by Lodik as well. He's doing a lot of work on the Jhin.
So he did 3,000 damage in the last team fight. He wasn't there! His ultimate does 1,000 damage right now when I mouse over it. And if he's doing true damage to Genthix or Whitelotus, that's 2,000 right there. Factor in everybody else, he did more damage, almost as much damage as his AD carry, without even being there. That's one ability.
That's a prime mid laner for anyone who wants to just split push. He's now got the Void Staff completed as well, so it's going to be even more penetration for him. There is a fiery Edge of Death for Lodik, upgraded that Infinity Edge.
I like that better than Molten Edge. Fiery Edge of Death.
I took inspiration from Molten Edge and I just twisted it around a little bit. 17,000 damage from Kira. It's just devastating for Rainbow7. They didn't have an answer for this last pick, Karthus. They haven't had an answer for the Nocturne either from Gambit.
But they tried to put all their eggs in the Whitelotus basket here, and you can see he did the most damage on his team, or he's done about the same amount of damage as Lodik, but it's just the rest of the team is a little bit more utility-based for him. Everybody's behind. He's not as far ahead as he should have been in a Caitlyn Morgana matchup because of the way the Gambit played the early game.
No Ardent Center to facilitate him either. The Requiem comes out and Empire is reborn. Lodik gets the kill. The curtain call coming out from the long range as well. Genthix trying to dodge away to the side. Diamondprox sacrifices himself, but really all Gambit want is this inhibitor. Kira will join up with Lodik and the rest of the squad They should be able to take this one down pretty easily. sEiya is tanking it up. Jirall trying to get him inside.
This composition is literally 4 people pressed R at the same time. Kira's going in.
Kira flashes in onto Whitelotus, does die in the end. No Requiem for him from beyond the grave, but they just want this inhibitor. Maybe Gambit are pushing a little bit too hard with this man disadvantage. Lodik not quite able to get the final shot, does get it in the end. The binding doesn't connect off towards the side. Lotus low, but he can push forward into this fight. Gambit realize they can't do too much more.
But that still buys time. Hold on if they can. Ooh, there's
a turret there, Jirall. Oh, he would not pass a driving test. Swerve straight into it.
Yeah, no drift in here for him. Not even a C-class driver's license. But anyway, down bottom side, they're going to have to clear out these waves. That actually, the fact that Kira committed so hard to that, he doesn't have flash or exhaust for the next fight, means he's primed for a shockwave as a target. And Baron's about to come up in 30 seconds. So that actually gave Rainbow7 so much breathing room when they could have just taken it slow. Yeah, this is press R. There's 4 R buttons being pressed here. The Jhin does it a little bit later, but that's just a huge commit there from Diamondprox onto Whitelotus in the backline. He's saying, I get your summoners now, so that the next time I do this, I'll be able to kill you.
Yeah, but I think at this point, Gambit should just back away. Like, you're tanking the tower with your top laner. Yes, there are minion waves pushing in, but maybe just accept you can't go further.
Yeah, I think it's because he said Whitelotus doesn't have flash or heal. I can exhaust him and kill him, but he's not able to reach him and deal enough damage there. But Gambit, looks like this is going to be an uncontested Baron.
This should be curtains as well for the game. Gambit with a Baron, 3 waves pushing in, double supers in the side waves. Kira can split push, Diamond can split push if he wants, sEiya can split push if he wants. Should be an easy closeout of this game for them.
Yeah, you'd expect the closeout would come mostly from the Banner of Command plus the Baron. And there are no more dematerializers here on the side of Rainbow7. So if they can just walk those minions in, it'll be a way that Gambit can actually win. But I don't think they have cannons now. It's all supers.
Kind of screwed by the fact they took too many inhibitors.
Yeah, they
should have left one alive.
They were too good at taking structures.
Well, they can of course banner up a caster minion or.
It's not the same. Wait, there's a cannon. Okay.
Now we're gonna get the cannon up, because that means the inhibitor spawning back in the mid lane, but the cannon will help them push towards these Nexus towers. Gambit knocking on the door of 3-0 on day 1. There's the Requiem as well. Whitelotus shielded up through it, and he loses half of his health. There's the Call of the Vulture God as well. Call opens up, Diamondprox on the backline, but he is caught out. Whitelotus still alive in this fight, as is the Nexus tower, and Kira's up towards the side. Remember, the Shockwave is available here. It's gonna catch out onto Kira. sEiya, Lodik, and Edward pushing onto the Nexus, though, alongside the super minions. This should be it for Gambit. Just need Lodik to auto-attack that Nexus. One more shot will do it, and Gambit go undefeated on day 1 here at MSI.
And Diamondprox pops out of his seat. Absolutely elated. This is redemption for him from the world's performance. The 0-4 that Gambit suffered. The fact that they dropped 2 games as well. 2 Lion Gaming. Now 3-0 at the end of day 1. And that means that they start getting into the process of knocking teams out. They win 1 more. Ascension cannot make it out of the group. They win 2 more. It means Chaos Latin Gamers are going to be in a spot where they can't make it out. And Gambit now hold the momentum.
In such a strong position going into Saturday's games. Of course, we have a whole day of action before we even get there. Zyrene, Supermassive playing up tomorrow, one of the favorites for that group. But as we've shown today, a favorite doesn't remain a favorite for very long here at MSI. It's upsets galore. Every team is a champion, remember, and that means that every team can make the big plays on the day.
And Gambit, they're pulling out all the stops. They came here to play some League of Legends, and they're playing some damn good League of Legends. The Karthus, the focus on the bottom lane, the Nocturne.
It's the willingness to experiment. That's what I really like about them. The willingness to say, Lodik, look, you're part-time League of Legends pro. Play Kai'Sa, carry our team. Play Jhin, stand at the back line, help out. And then you've got these veteran players who just have such a wealth of experience and a wealth of champion pool that basically you can bring out anything on the day.
And I mean, calling Lodik a part-time League of Legends player, I think has like a bad connotation to it, right?
He's still at university.
Exactly.
Yes.
He is a fantastic player. He didn't die in that game.
Yeah.
He set up a lot of Diamondprox's ultimates with his W off of just getting a little bit of damage. And so he was able to play Jhin where they had wrecked a Jhin earlier, in the day, and they trusted his utility, they trusted his positioning, and that was a Caitlyn Morgana lane. That's a lane that you should have no business winning. They should just be taking your turret at like 7 minutes, 9 minutes, and they were able to turn it around because they played as a team and they knew what their win condition was.
If you're sitting as Rainbow7 now, you're 1 and 2 on the day. You basically have to win every single game on day 3. Is there anything that you look at and you say they need to change this, they need to adapt here?
You have to kind of erase everything that you've done so far and just say, the fact that they lost to Chaos Latin Gamers, get it out of your head. It can't mentally affect you. The fact that they dropped here to Gambit, and this was one of the games that Rainbow7 came in, they won only 1 game against Ascension, and that wasn't even convincing. Rainbow7 have to kind of reevaluate the way that they're playing, and Whitelotus does look a little bit rusty, but sEiya has amazing score lines. We're seeing him try to carry these games. Somebody else needs to step up as a secondary carry, and Oddie's just not getting people as ahead in the early game as he was before. Too many risks that are backfiring.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Rainbow7 can bring it back in a couple of days, but for now, let's send it over to Pastry Time for an interview with the victorious jungler.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Diamondprox of Gambit. Pretty amazing first day here at MSI. How are you feeling now that you've swept your first day?
I'm feeling much better than at Worlds, first of all. And I'm feeling great in general that everything that we prepared, like all the strategies that we showed yet, worked very well. Even though we didn't play like our best games, it still worked and we still won, even though our opponents actually turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, and I actually did talk to Edward earlier in the day, and he said that you had a lot of things prepared. You said you've played all these strategies before, but I think he hinted that there's maybe quite a lot more. Without spoiling too much, how many more different things can you guys possibly play? Because it feels like there's a lot of preparation that you guys have done for the event.
I think there's at least 10 more strategies to come, and one of them is like lane bully Brown. It has no counters at all. First pick lane bully Brown wins the game.
All right, and I mean, so far so good for you guys. You said that the quality of your opponents maybe was better than you were expecting. Kind of what were your expectations for the team? Obviously, you guys are doing well, but what made it harder than maybe you thought coming in?
To be honest, I expected Rainbow7 to be a little bit stronger than they were, but they still showed a very good game. But I expected other teams to be weaker, but they turned out to be on the level of Rainbow7, and that really wasn't expected by me, and it made the games interesting, at least for me.
Yep, and then still, of course, you've got a little bit more to go, but you are leading your group undefeated. First of all, do you think you can sweep and go 6-0, kind of moving in towards that best of 5?
I hope so.
And then thinking about that, as far as your preparation goes, now that teams have played against you, do you think that you'll be able to continue and finish first, or will you run into more hurdles when you have to play them again?
I think against some teams it's going to be a bit harder to play again. For example, KLG, against us, first game, they didn't feel that strong, but the games they played afterwards against other opponents, they showed to be really, really strong. And I expect some teams to be stronger on the next day of play, and some teams are probably going to be easier, but it all depends on how fast everyone adapts to the draft and to how everyone else plays.
Well, certainly a tough road ahead, but thank you for the interview and good luck in your future games. With that, though, we are going to throw it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. Fantastic to hear from Diamond. Gambit, fantastic start and another win that is now a 3-0. We're going to talk about that as well as about the other teams, and I'd like to welcome Tierwulf from KLG to the desk. Hello, sir.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on a I would say pretty good day 1, 2-1 overall. What are the general feelings of how you played today?
We're happy, but at the same time we're sad because obviously dropping a game is bad, but we're just going to work harder and try to do our best.
Well, Diamond just touched on it, the fact that you guys maybe not were in form in that first game of the day, but you guys are developing as you go. So let's talk a bit about that final game, Gambit versus Rainbow7. Rainbow7, huge favorites at the beginning of the day, not so much at the ending of the day, but I want to start by praising Gambit for what they did, especially the fact that they threw out some new picks and bans.
Yeah.
We saw Nocturne, we saw Karthus. What did you think of Diamond's Nocturne?
I mean, I'd give it like an A. Hasn't quite hit that S tier for me yet because he's still running and press the attack over the full execute, assassin, electrocute. But one of the great things about Nocturne is a lot of people underappreciate how many buffs he's had over the last couple of patches, and he can get a lot of AD if he's able to land that Duskbringer. That means he does a lot of damage in the early game, and he sets up beautifully for a lot of these ganks, especially in coordination with things like the Karthus, and just goes to show again the sort of depth of champions that Kira has that we talked about.
And that's the big thing, of course, with the patches that have been coming through, presence of mind, making it so you can get to these ganks, get these setups so frequently. I love to see it come through. I know we've been talking about the strategy that Gambit's been rolling out specifically for the tournament, and you really get to see it today.
Yeah, and Tierwulf.
Talking about the press the attack, though,
Tell me.
I think the reasoning is behind the fight versus Trundle. I feel like the only way you could beat him is if you spell shield the Q, and then with press the attack, you win the long fight. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think that's the reasoning behind. I feel like if you go with electrocute, you look for short trades, and
True.
Trundle won't let you get out with the pillar.
Completely agree.
This is exactly why we have pro players joining us on
That's
the
why I sit here.
Not in that seat. Overall, what do we think about Diamond? I mean, in the Worlds planes, when Gambit went 0-4, he was definitely a guy that we expected a bit more from and didn't quite show up. It seems to be different this time around for Gambit. They seem to have found more synergy. They're also playing with that bottom lane with Lodik coming in, so it's looking good.
It's looking very good. I think the second game, specifically when he counter-ganked top lane, he had a really good feel of the map, and I think that's showcasing throughout the day.
And I mean, you can probably speak to it. It feels to me that Gambit have done a lot of prep coming into the tournament, and especially against you guys. I know you seem to be very bot-focused typically in your playstyle, and things like the Galio, I felt, made it pretty difficult for you.
Yeah, I feel like they prepared with the right mindset. I feel like they studied all the teams, looked at the best way to draft, the best way to play versus each team, and they probably prepared a lot of strategies. I feel like they came in with an intelligent mindset, and it's definitely showing.
And in this one, they beat out Rainbow7. Rainbow7 is now 1-2, and it's kind of the opposite of what we had expected of the LATAM teams coming out. Why do you think Rainbow7 hasn't found their synergy yet?
I just think that it's hard to compare regions when we're all in our little bubbles. It's hard to analyze and compare. I don't know. We're playing Latin American South. Maybe we have our own meta, our own play style. Maybe we trade objectives differently. It's hard to compare. You can't really compare, I don't know, a last team with an NA team or a LAN team. So when you get here and everybody plays each other, you have teams like could be the mini Flash Wolves.
Yeah.
That they have their own play style, which is good versus a team that's bad in early game, or maybe good versus a team that's, I don't know, bad at trading objectives. And maybe there's teams that are better at team fighting. And I feel when you get here, you play the first day and you realize they're not actually bad. They play a different style, and we have to figure out what to do versus it.
And what's the key to your confidence? Because I remember specifically that game where you were pretty far behind, 2 kills behind, and then you kept going at or at least Oddie. That was really strong from him. So, like, immediately, you even talked about it, that you were confident that you're going to get a 2-0 later on. So, like, what's your confidence coming into today?
I'm just confident in my play style, in my play, and my knowledge of the game. I'm also, you know, I trust my teammates a lot, so I know that all the invades I do, I'm going to have them following up and backing me up. So I don't know, I'm just really confident right now in knowing the matchups. I know that being 0-2, I could do a lot, and I could beat him 1v1. So I'm just trying to use my advantage as far as I can go.
Well, we definitely loved it, that game specifically, where we just kept running after Oddie and the other way around. And I saw a bit of that rumored fandom out of Latin America who are very much cheering for the team if they're winning, but they are ruthless when the team is losing. And it seems like you really thrive on that. You just want to get the people going.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't beaten Latin America North since 2015, so it's definitely something good. I'm just glad to show that we've evolved and we're getting better constantly, and that today we could beat them. So it's definitely a good feeling.
Yeah, we have to keep thinking about the fact that, yes, it's cool that you got that pride battle, but it is all about that prize, about getting out of planes and getting to the MSI group stage. So we're going to take a look at all the teams overall, and I do want to call back to what I asked you guys at the start of the day. You gave me your predictions about who you thought would be #1, what the game score would be. So let's take a look. This is what the guys thought before the start of the day. Now, Tierwulf, don't watch this. But
Close your eyes, Tierwulf. Don't look at my predictions.
Chaos Latin Gamers would go 0-3, and Rainbow7, both of you guys said, would go undefeated.
Hey, I got the Ascension one right. I will hold on to that one. Okay.
I'm blown away. Actually, was not prepared for what was about to happen today. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was... the thing is that for Lion coming in, I felt like that they had just adapted in that they had strong individual performers and that they had developed a better understanding of how to play League. Yet, coming into the tournament, we haven't really seen that better understanding. We just still have strong individual players, yet they're not finding the same kind of leads that they have done in past international tournaments, and that can just speak to the level of competition that has been coming into the play-in.
Well, let's take a look at how the standings actually turned out. Ascension Gaming is 0-3, so they can still get out of the group. There can be miracle runs, but then they'll have to do a lot, win every single game and depend on tiebreakers and whatnot. So, Tierwulf, why do you think Ascension Gaming hasn't been able to find those wins yet?
I feel like they have really good team fighting. I feel like they're a really good team and they have good aspects, but I do feel like in some ways they're not expecting a lot of things that are happening. I feel like when you play so long in a region, you expect things from maybe other teams that you've played a long time, and you get here and maybe, I don't know, a jungler, instead of doing a full clear, does one camp, goes bot, like Diamondprox. So those surprises can happen, and specifically we're playing best of one. So you got to expect those things, and I feel like the teams that prepare for that play with that mindset that anything can happen. We got to be careful. We can push the lane, but what if the jungler is here? You know, you can't base yourself on basic jungle timings, and you can't also study them, because I feel like a month-old VOD isn't enough for what could have changed in a whole period, you know?
That's a great point. I mean, Ascension coming in, we said, well, they're very, very aggressive early on. They didn't really get to play their own game, it seems like. Yes, there was aggression in the early game, but they ended up getting only 2 kills at 15 minutes over 3 games, which was the least out of all teams. And they ended up dying 4.33 times at 15 minutes, which is the most out of all teams. So it feels like their playstyle backfired a little bit, and they might have to recalibrate.
I think a lot of it comes to, and I'm never going to be blaming draft for people specifically. This time I'm just going to hit on the fact that they're not playing to their style. Going up against the Kai'Sa pick, a lot of the times you're going to have a lot of skirmish-heavy, messy games. That's fine as well as you own it. But if you're going up against Kai'Sa, if you're not going to ban it, if you're not going to pick it up yourself, that puts you on a really bad defense. So they're really getting caught out in a lot of these fights. They just come down to micro-intensive points. And so if you lose on that, it feels bad, especially since they had a really good opportunity at the beginning of the day to take a game. They could have taken 2 games, especially off of Gambit. That was a really close one.
That's true. That was closer than it, and it turns out to be. That 0-3 record is maybe not completely true to what exactly happened, but at the end of the day, they didn't get a single win yet, so it's going to be hard for them to get out of the group. The next team I want to talk about is Rainbow7. I think Jirall said it in a video before. If you get 2 losses, then you're putting yourself in a very, very difficult position, and that is exactly the position that Rainbow7 is now in. 1-2. Everything is still possible, and it feels like the group is pretty wide open, but do we feel like they're going to regain their form? Is Rainbow7 going to be a contender for that top spot, Tierwulf?
You can't count anybody out in best of one, and I think that there's always the opportunity that any team can go up. I just think that it's hard, because I think the mentality issue is kind of big, because if you lose to us, I think the fans are going to be on you, and I think you have a lot more pressure. And then specifically, I think Lion or Rainbow7 now, they're really good players. They have history, and I think a lot of people expect a lot from them. And I think that sometimes having that pressure on you can make things a lot harder than probably being the underdog or just existing, you know?
Yeah, and that kind of ties in as well, given the fact that Whitelotus has not played for the last 4 months. He hasn't had the best practice. He hasn't been in the same sort of environment that he has been while he's playing competitively. And now he's put on to an international stage against a lot of other talented teams that have developed a lot since the last time he played against them. And you've got to consider that all this added pressure is behind him, because, like, well, you haven't been here all split. And, you know, like, now there could be the question of, do you bring in your sub? Do you bring in someone that's been playing with the team for the entire split?
I think that is super, super interesting, because they have Manu here, that is the AD, who played actually most of the split. And we got to remember, they did win the split pretty easily in the end, right? They won it all. And maybe they have to go back and say, well, yeah, maybe it's not the time for Whitelotus yet. Or is that not a decision that should be made now?
It's just an awkward discussion, because a lot of the champions here, including the Chaos Latin gamers...
There's the thing, though. Actually, on the finals, they played with another AD. They actually had 3 sub ADs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard, because you can't travel with all your subs. So you got to think about what's best for the team. So not having the AD that maybe played the finals, having the AD that played the group phase, and then you have an AD with a big history that's always showed up in international events. That's always been considered one of the best AD carries in wildcard.
What would you do
region.
if you were the coach? What would you do?
Oh, here we go.
Whitelotus. I trust Whitelotus. I've been in a team with him, and I think he's a beast. He has a great mentality, and he's definitely a player I'd love to have on my team.
Yeah.
All right.
If I was there.
We'll see what they go with. I want to take a look at a couple of more players more specifically and what they did today. Gambit is 3-0. A guy that's been showing up huge is Lodik in the bottom lane. That guy just, okay, Kai'Sa, yes, but also on Jhin, just the last game. He's been playing really, really well for a rookie, only 17 years old, still in university, only been playing for a couple of weeks.
Real confident, that one. And Gambit's confident in his play. The fact that we're starting to see bottom lane focused compositions to not only take down Whitelotus, but to buff up the Jhin, I really like what I'm seeing at him.
I'm impressed by the fact that for the entire split, they did not play through him, right? And there were so many questions surrounding why are they replacing Blasting, an individual that has more experience, was 11-1 with the team during the regular season. Yet, I feel like he's proved it now. They trusted in his potential. He needed a little bit more experience. And then when the pressure's on, he was able to perform.
In general, as AD carry, performing really well. Tierwulf, do you think that it's going to come down to who has the strongest AD carries in this group?
I mean, I think not AD carries. I think AD carries right now are really good. I think he's a good example of a really good team fighting AD carry that does a lot of damage. But I do feel like right now, jungles. I feel like if you look at all the wildcard regions and all the teams that are here, or maybe NA, Korea, everywhere, the best jungles have won. You have Peanut, you know, you have me, you have Oddie, you have all of them. And I think that jungle right now controls the flow of the game. I think a jungle that can control river, can play the win condition, can pressure the lane it has to pressure, get the advantage, and transfer it, can definitely make the biggest impact.
Let me rephrase. Should the jungle then be going bottom lane all the time?
I think it depends on the win condition and the champs, but I definitely think that a lot of the AD carries right now in this wild card are really talented players and can definitely carry the team if they get the resources they need.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely interesting when they get Kai'Sa or when they go off. Another guy I want to talk about is the mid laner for Rainbow7, sEiya. We said that even though Rainbow7 hasn't been winning, he is always showing up, so we wanted to give him that time of day. Unfortunately, it sometimes feels a bit like he's 1v5ing.
Sometimes it can feel like that, but to be fair to sEiya, one of the big praises I have for him as a mid laner is his positioning always seems very solid. It's a fact that he's always in a situation where he doesn't take very much damage, yet he's always dishing it out. And having that consistency in a mid laner makes your team fighting that much stronger. Unfortunately, it's just the coordination with the team isn't always there. And if they can find that same synergy that they've had in the past, I feel like that Lion on top of sEiya can really stand out.
Exactly. It just comes down to the setup for the team fights, because a lot of the setup here has been kind of haphazard, but if you can have proper setup to get him rolling, he's had really strong focus to get the damage that you've been mentioning. So I think he's been playing out phenomenally, and I think Whitelotus could actually continue to play well if the setup for those fights work out perfect.
Yeah, it feels like both of them just have to be online for Rainbow7 to do more in this group. The other team, or the other player rather, I want to talk about is Plugo from KLG. Not really someone that we talked about as much as sEiya, for instance, but this guy has been doing really well today. He had a fantastic Anivia performance, as well as Vladimir a bit later on. So Tierwulf, how do you feel your mid laner has been performing?
I'm actually happy for him because he's usually my slave. He usually plays utility picks throughout the region, and he's been known as that player. There's actually a mid laner in our region that people consider to be the playmaker, which is Emp, but he's actually been showing that he wanted to be that player. You know, he's grew a lot from being a rookie, from being a utility player to the player he is now, and then the mentality he has nowadays, just playing for the team and then being able to still carry with whatever pick and being such a versatile player is definitely a great player to have.
And Nivea and Vladimir definitely fit that kind of role, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah.
You used to pick up that Vel'Koz pick a while back too.
Yeah, he plays everything. He plays Vel'Koz, Karma, Vladimir. You know, I think he's just a really great player. I think his mindset has definitely made him grow so much. And I think that today he could play a utility pick like he could play an assassin.
Great stuff, and great stuff from you guys overall. And Raz wanted to just give another shout out to you, Tierwulf. This is before we knew you were joining us.
We didn't even know you were
so
on
this
here.
Is not planned.
You're going to experience this one, because the best thing about Tierwulf is that it comes down to aggression. Now, going into best of ones, now whoever comes out to Dog Eat Dog World, you have to take out first place. He came in with unrelenting aggression, went up against Oddie, and literally still took him down after finding himself 0-2 to start off the game.
This was close.
This was crazy. But like, and the best part about it, after all is said and done, literally stares down the ball of the camera to showcase that he's the better man. Say something, man.
I mean, I just wanted to show that I'm better than Lan. So, I mean, that was my goal, but I want to keep playing well. I want to show what I can do and just win. You know, my meta being here is represent last and just show that wildcard regions have grown and that we can do well.
I think that is the bottom line here. We can try and make them trash talk all we want, and the regional pride is very, very important. But at the end of the day, it'll be who ends up in the #1 spot in Group A, who goes on to that next round. And the same is true for tomorrow. But today's games, they showcase the teams in one of our groups. Tomorrow, we will see the rest. It's going to kick off with Supermassive from the TCL versus Dire Wolves from the OPL. Then Kaboom from CBLOL versus Pentagram from the LJL. And then everyone's going to play everyone on that day, much like today. So today, we thought Rainbow7 was the extreme favorites. It turned out to be a toss-up. What are we thinking tomorrow?
Supermassive, Supreme Favorites, 3-0, easy group. Now, I definitely, I'm never voting for LJL ever again. After last year, when they let me down, they have lost my
I don't know if you've scrimmed any of these teams and what your insights are.
To be truthful, I think it's a really good group. I think people are doing the same thing they did with our group, and they're just giving up on teams. I feel like right now, Wildcard has evolved a lot. I think that we've had the time to grow, to learn, to adapt a lot of things. We've grown in coaching staff, we've grown as organizations, we've grown as players. I just think right now it's just really fought, and I don't know who's going to really win. I feel like Pentagram, a lot of people are throwing them down, and I feel like they've gotten really new good players. I was actually a fan of the jungler they have now, who's a Korean streamer that played solo queue. He's really good. I just think that there's a lot of good players, and you can't really tell. I feel like best of one, all these regions, different play styles, it's really hard to figure out who's going to win.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Tierwulf. You just say, well, you know, you can't just count people out in a best-of-one scenario with regions that have developed so much, and I think you guys are a great example of that. Nobody really thought you would do as well as you did so far, but you showed up, and I think that's how we should go into tomorrow. And I know you guys are going to come up there, put your predictions up, 3-0 Supermassive, and then it's going to be all wrong at the end of the day. So take something.
Look, I love the fun games coming through. I don't even give a damn that I was wrong today. As long as we get really exciting games, this is what makes MSI incredibly fun. So of course I'm going to come out and say that Supermassive, I'm expected to take it from the top of the group, but I also expected Rainbow7. So I do want to see teams end up taking that growth. Immediately I'm going to cast my mind to Pentagram, because I think that they play way too slow of a game in the early game when they get moving, and a lot of the questions are where's the jungle positioning early on. So I want those questions answered personally, and I want to see how they actually perform. And if the practice that they've had since coming and traveling over from Japan, if that works out, then fabulous. I think we all get to enjoy that.
Fabulous, probably. But, yeah.
Oh, wait a second.
I think that honestly, Group B will be a little bit more one-sided based on what I've been hearing from teams that have had the opportunity to play against Supermassive. They just seem to be, they just seem to have a higher level of understanding of the game. In particular, Snowflyer is considered by even many European teams to have a really good understanding of a game, and that 2v2 is considered very strong. So I just kind of automatically put them in the favorites. It's just then who fights for that underlying spot, who can be the one to undertake them, because I think there's a lot of potential competition, a lot of potential spoiler potential from the rest.
That's true, and due to the changes, it's only the #1 team out of Group A and B that goes through, so that, you know, that just makes it incredibly intense. That's going to be it from day one, though. We saw a lot of exciting matches. Tierwulf, I do want to thank you for joining us on the desk.
Thank you, guys.
And congratulating you on a great run so far. Good luck on Saturday.
I appreciate it.
Well,
we'll do our best.
Yes, fantastic stuff. That's it from us here in Berlin for day one. We will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. CEST for Supermassive versus the Dire Wolves. Until then, have a fantastic night. Welcome to the opening day of the 2018 Mid-Season Invitational.
Behind it, Sion is going to go forward, looking for the chain CC. Lodik has to use the ult. No more defensive tools used, and he gets taken down in the end. With them turning it back in their favor as they look to pick up their first win here at the MSI play-in stage. And there's Fly pulled right back. Lloyd, though, may have overstayed his welcome as sEiya is happy to grab that kill. The flash out for Whitelotus. One more auto. Can he take him down? Whitelotus gets it in the end. sEiya with the double kill. Back and forth bloodbath. 43 minutes into the game, but it is Rainbow7 who come out on top. Ascension winning yet another fight. The Baron not in their sights quite yet. Maybe Lodik can turn it here. Is he going to get it? He has so much healing. He gets a double Kai'Sa. Already forced to use the Hourglass. Rocky in the middle of the team, but Lodik untouched. Kira untouched. The carries able to free hit onto the back line. G4 wants to turn it, but Lodik just doesn't care. Lloyd is next on the menu. A beautiful performance by Gambit. A beautiful performance by Lodik will net them their second win. Chase coming in from the rest of KOG as Nate jumps into the back line. Whitelotus low. Jirall the front line, but Whitelotus is dead. And KOG collapse on the fight. Oddie has to leap away to safety, but sEiya can't do that. The Nexus is the new target, and the minions will help them out in the end. They're waiting for Plugo to resurrect, but in the battle of Latin America, the South wins. Lloyd in the midst of it all. Plugo, Sanguine Pool keeps himself alive for the time being. Lloyd has to get away, but the binding connects. Ascension, and they will wipe them off the face of Summoners with that superb binding from long range, and Vix
gets the triple. AOG will bring it back after a bad game one and go 2-1 in this group. And we're at the Black Shield's already been used, as you say. Here comes the curtain call. Requiem as well. Paranoia not in range. Out of sight, here he goes, right onto the back line. Genthix goes down. Diamondprox gets away. Gambit execute their bot lane dive. That Nexus, one more shot will do it on day one here at MSI.